I'm going to provide another viewpoint to substantiate my position that Canadians and anyone in Western democracy think you're going to get a fair deal with Trump. You're just walking down a golden path that goes nowhere. Just might as well be the Wizard of Oz. Toto, where are you going? You're going nowhere. You're not going to win with Trump. The man has an emotional IQ of 10 to 12, a 10 to 12-year-old. And I'm going to provide some more proof to make you understand, to help you understand, because why you keep trying to do a deal with Trump when you can't do a fair deal with Trump makes no sense. And notwithstanding the fact that people are supporting Pierre Poilievre, who has policies that will not fix the problem that ails Canada. And it's a Western democracy thing, and until that ideology of money and how it works and how it's created gets reframed and reconstructed to help the people versus hurting the people. Now we'll go to Anthony Scaramucci, that actually worked with Trump, knows Trump very, very well, and all the players behind the scenes.
Them somewhat. I mean, I guess.
Well, the Obama deal gave them $1.3 billion in cash. Trump just gave them $14 billion.
The sanctions relief.
The sanctions.
Right.
So there you go, right there. He's talking about the Obama nuclear deal struck in 2015, where they kept international peacekeepers, atomic energy scientists went into Iran, kept the uranium in check, monitored it on a real-time basis. Trump says, well, he gave away 1.3 or 1.4 billion in cash back to them, made them rich. Like, come on. They walked away. The Iranians walked away with loads of cash on planes. Meanwhile, Trump rips up that deal, bombs Iran last summer, says he eliminated the uranium nuclear threat. And meanwhile, he's back to trying to bomb them again because he says there's a nuclear threat. A lot of it has to do with Israel, but that's another story. But nonetheless, because of the oil sanctions they have to lift on the Iranians because of the impasse with the Strait of Hormuz, it's a $14 billion deal to benefit Iran. So go figure. You give Trump too much credit. The guy, TDS, is a symptom that afflicts Trump himself. If the guy doesn't get his way, he gets mad. And when you get a child that has an emotional IQ level of 10 to 12 years old, you got to be careful when you trigger that anger. So this Iran deal, you think Trump's smart. He's not a deal maker. Never was. He's just been making money off of you, thinking he was. Go back to Anthony here.
His relief. The Obama deal is more or less what the Trump administration is looking for right now in terms of the containment of the country. So, again, I think the problem with the Obama deal is what the Israelis were saying. Because of the way they've operated, they're a lying, deceptive, evil group of people. Because of the way they're operating, it's not 100% clear that we can trust what they're saying to us.
Yeah, and even if we do a deal with them now, you're still going to have that issue. So that will not be eliminated. So that's why the Obama deal, if it was kept in place, would have been the most prudent route to take for the United States, Israel, and the rest of the world. But no, the stable genius, because he calls himself a stable genius, got to have it his way. And there's no other way. So all this has been for naught. It's been a waste. Take it away, Anthony.
And listen, I have a lot of sympathy for Israel. So to me, if I was running Israel, I'm the prime minister of Israel, and we've got 800 miles away, we have an Islamic fundamentalist group of people that are willing to kill their own people in protests, are willing to do indiscriminately horrific things, have set up paramilitaries all over the world, incited a terrorist insurrection, terrorist attack on October 7th into our country. I mean, let's just tell everybody the truth, okay? The Israelis, and you got to give Jared Kushner credit for this, they signed the Abraham Accords. Yes. They started a naturalization, normalization process with the secular Gulf state Arabs. The Iranians don't want that. The Iranians don't want the Saudis to acknowledge Israel. And so they, it's a complicated thing because,
of course.
Netanyahu was giving money to Hamas.
Yeah.
Right. He was telling the Qataris, give them money because he wanted to create some type of functioning government in the Gaza Strip.
Right.
Okay. But the Iranians are like, hey, attack Israel.
Right.
If you attack Israel, we'll upset the Abraham Accords. Israel will over-respond the way the Americans did on 9/11.
Of course.
And it'll upset the Abraham Accords and it'll flip the apple cart again.
Right.
And that happened. And by the way, Joe Biden went to go see Bibi Netanyahu and said, hey, don't do what we did.
Right.
Okay?
Don't overreact.
Don't overreact.
Yeah.
But, it's politics. That's what happens. Politics is tied more to emotion than it is to rationality.
What did you make of Kushner when you were there?
I always liked Jared. I think he's a very smart guy. He's
Clearly smart.
On a lot of podcasts that I've listened to where I'm like, yeah, he really understands things. His book was quite good. I read his book. Yeah. I saw Jared as a goaltender in the first Trump administration in the following respect. Bad crazy things came out of Trump's mouth, and Jared was there to block the shots on net that could harm our alliances. He wanted to rack up tariffs. He wanted to end NATO. He wanted to sympathize with Vladimir Putin overly. He wanted to attack Iran.
Okay, you people in Western Canada and the United States, it's right here. You witness it. This would have happened the first term. He wants to dismantle NATO. He wanted to put tariffs on the world back in his first term. And there's this love relationship with Vladimir Putin that why would you want to do deals with Vladimir Putin when your neighbor to the north, Canada itself, has more potential for profit for the Americans and Canadians? So none of it makes any sense. And this is what happens when you put a guy into power that's an egomaniac and is illiterate, emotionally, intellectually deficient, and just pain and suffering and hurting people just for his advantage. He doesn't care about anybody else.
And a lot of those things got blocked by people like Mnuchin, Gary Cohen, Jared Kushner.
Mnuchin was an underappreciated.
No, Stephen was great. And Stephen was also great during the COVID. Another very safe pair of hands. So the problem now is, Trump hates Jared. And people think he doesn't hate Jared. He's his son-in-law. Yeah. He hates Jared. He on Jared everywhere, excoriates Jared. Yeah. But he needs Jared. Okay, and he sends Jared into these areas, and he trusts Jared more than other people. Okay, even though he on him. That's the dichotomy of Trump, right? But Jared doesn't have the influence that he had when he was working inside the White House.
Right. What about
But I do like Jared.
You know Wyckoff at all?
I like Steve. I got along with Steve. I used to go to Rayo's with Steve. Yeah. I saw Steve in Davos. We were hanging out at the Hilton Garden Inn together and had a nice conversation. Listen, my attitude with these guys always is I disdain Trump. I disdain what he's done to the country. I disdain the decision-making. He's, in 15 months, Carlo, he's wreaked havoc on the economy unnecessary. He's wreaked havoc on the world. He's gone after our allies. He's praised our adversaries. He's shooting people in the streets of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not necessary. All this craziness is not necessary. With everything.
And this is Donald Trump. And you supporters of Polyev think you're going to deal with Trump and get a fair deal? Come on. His actions and behaviors have shown the type of person he truly is. And there's only one way of looking at it. The man's not good for the country that he's supposed to serve because he's only serving himself, and that's all he cares about.
I think of Joe Biden. I was out with a guy last night, a 70-year-old guy, and he says to me, look, I wasn't a huge fan of Joe Biden, but you know what? There was some sense of normalcy, and we could all return back to business. Right. Trump wants your attention. He's this wounded animal. Right. He wants to make money for himself, and he wants your eyeballs on him to the point where he's now upset the whole apple cart of the world. And he's also really damaged. He's unbelievably damaged the image of the United States around the world. Yeah. people think that we're like bat crazy because we've got Trump in charge. So for all of these reasons, I disdain Trump. But there are people that work for Trump that I still talk to. Okay, and there are people that work for Trump that I like. I was a lifetime Republican, and Steve Witkoff and I had a very good relationship. We did a lot of panels together here in New York, the Rayos together.
Yeah.
And I think Steve gets unfairly treated by the press. I think he's an incredibly smart guy.
Yeah.
And you know, could they come up with a resolution? Sure. I think they were close in Oman. I don't know what happened in Oman because the Omani foreign minister said the deal was there on the 27th of February. So
Was that all subterfuge, right? Or was there a deal and Whitcoff and
not close enough to the situation. I don't know what
who
happened.
knows,
You know,
right.
so I don't want to accuse them, but I like Whitcoff and Jack.
So based on everything we know, February the 27th, there was actually a deal in place, in kind. It's basically another MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, or Minutes of Intention, or Minutes of Agreement. So even with that, Trump decided, whoa, Netanyahu, the Israelis decide they're going to bomb. So Trump doesn't want the Israelis to get all the glory. So that's why he bombs first. And it's really just as simple as that.
Yeah.
The rap on Trump has always been, even when when he doesn't have people in his administration who can keep him centered, he's always got these two guardrails, and the guardrails are the polls and the markets, right?
Yeah.
It's unclear if the polls are still much of a guardrail because he's a lame duck, even if he pretends he's going to run for a third term, like he's obviously not.
Yeah.
I don't think he really gives a what happens to the GOP as a party.
But the polls mattered when he was running for re-election. The market mattered when he was running for re-election.
Does the market still a
I
guardrail?
think, I don't think either of those things matter. And let me give your podcast listeners a news flash. He doesn't give a shit about the Republicans.
You're right.
Okay, so he doesn't want them to win. His attitude is, you guys were nobody until I got here. You're going to be nobody after I leave.
Yeah.
Okay, so the notion that he's going to work with them, forget about it. He didn't even endorse Cornyn. All the right strategies to do for the Republicans, he didn't do. He hasn't done so far.
Right.
And so he wants his success.
So that's a tip to Canadian conservatives. You're not going to get a fair deal with Trump. And just because you're conservative, do not think you're going to get a fair deal with Trump. He doesn't care about anybody other than himself. He's a narcissistic human being to the 9th degree. And the thing is, like Anthony just stated, as far as he's concerned, you were nothing before he came into power, and he's going to make sure you're going to be nothing after he leaves. So conservatives in Canada, you think you've got an advantage to do a deal with Trump? Wake up. It ain't happening.
Her to be Gavin Newsom. Because let me explain why. Because you were nobodies until I arrived.
Yeah.
I'm going to pardon myself on the way out after I take $20 billion of plunder from being in the job and violating every sentence of the emoluments clause. So I'm going to pardon myself on the way out, and I'm going to laugh at you guys. And by the way, let's let Newsom take over.
Right.
Because that'll be my big middle finger to you guys.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about you guys.
And Newsom is
the
sort of
fact-
Trump-like in a lot of ways.
The fact that they don't understand that makes me laugh. Right? They're like, okay, let's coddle him this way.
Right.
Let's kiss his that way. The guy that really makes me laugh is this guy, Mark Rutte. You know who this guy is? He's
The
president.
NATO guy.
This guy's unbelievable. You know, I was teasing on my
He's
podcast
got Trump's
saying,
number, doesn't he?
in what way? He's a huge kisser.
Yeah, well, I'm
It's
saying.
humiliating. It's humiliating. I was teasing people on my podcast saying I talked to Mark Rutter's trainer, and they're going to do deeper squats so he can get deeper up Trump's. But he is the kisser of kissers, and Mark Rutter should pick up the phone and call Mark Carney and get some life coaching from Mark Carney. And what are you doing?
Right.
Okay, first of all, Trump doesn't even respond to that. Number two, he's laughing at that.
Yeah.
If you think when you're in the cabinet,
And you just noticed right there, Anthony Scaramucci, lifelong Republican, lifelong conservative, said the guy that's running NATO should actually be getting coaching from Mark Carney. Out of all the people in the world, the guy in NATO should be calling Mark Carney and get some life coaching about how to deal with Trump. So you're just going down another rabbit hole by trying to put a conservative Pierre Poilievre that has no understanding of economic policy that's going to fix anything in the present to make things different in the future, has no understanding of dealing with Trump and the Americans and and your conservative supporters. This is just a tribal thing. Let go of the tribe. It's got nothing to do with the avatar, make you feel good because your guy's there. What you need and what we all need is what's going to work for the people of the country, all the people, all the time, for the betterment of the people of the country of Canada.
The meeting with Trump, and you're telling Trump he's beautiful and he's tall.
You can tell
and
it
he's
kind of
thin.
disgusts him a little
Yeah,
bit,
he's
right?
laughing at these guys. Let me tell you something, okay? I was on the campaign with him when he was getting his kissed by somebody. And he would walk behind the thing. He'd look over at me and go, you believe this guy?
Right.
Believe this guy? That wasn't me. That would never be me.
Yeah.
Okay? And by the way, he doesn't even like that. He doesn't even respect that.
Right.
So Mark Rutta, you probably don't listen to Newsweek's podcast, but if you do, get your head out of Trump's ass.
What are you getting
Okay.
out of it? Right.
I mean,
That's
actually,
the
I
thing.
think he's got, you could probably only see his ankles dangling from Trump's I mean, it's just revolting.
I mean, I think
Revolting.
it would be one thing if he got something out of it, right? But
that's
all
so
Trump does is all over NATO.
But this is the other problem. This is the other problem with the Republicans. Dudes, knock him around, man.
right.
Knock him around. Force him into
He responds to
compliance.
that. He responds to
So get on the phone and say, hey, I just got off the phone with Schumer. We are going to throw you out. Or just give me the heads up.
Yeah.
If you don't stop your nonsense and take a deep breath and stop acting like a nut, you blew up half the White House with a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
You got the other half of the White House decorated like your Liberace.
It just looks terrible.
Cut it out. Cut it out. Take a chill pill. Otherwise, we're going to throw you out.
Yeah.
And by the way, we got your number. We know you don't want us to win next time. And we have, unfortunately, overly kissed your ass. So we're going to stop kissing your ass now because we still got some time before the midterms. Knock it off. But they won't do
They
that.
won't
You want to know why they won't do
They
that?
got no spines.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's right. It's profiles and cowardice. That's
Yeah.
why they won't do that.
No, it'd be interesting to see, do any Republicans in Congress come out a little more forceful after they get shellacked in November? I don't know. But it's true that
They're not going to do it. They're afraid of them. They want personal power more than they want to serve the people.
Right.
Right?
And this is the issue in Canada. And this is why you've got these people pushing for Pierre Poilievre. You just want your guy in place, and that's more important than actually doing what is best for the people of Canada and the people of the United States. Because dealing with Trump, you're not going to get a fair deal.
What's Dan's name with the eye patch? You know the guy I'm talking about?
Oh, Crenshaw?
Yeah.
That
so
guy,
lost
he just lost.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just think about it. Dan Crenshaw voted 99% with Donald
And
Trump.
he's still,
Okay, bye-bye.
Right.
John Cornyn,
yeah.
99% he voted with Donald Trump. One time he voted bye-bye.
Right.
You know, I was on a Bill Maher show in 2019, trying to defend Trump. I was still on the Trump,
Yeah.
train. And I said something that Trump didn't like, because he was talking about the squad and going back to the countries. These are the four women in
right,
the
right, right.
Congress. Go back to the countries you originally came from. 3 of them were born here. 1 was naturalized from Africa. I'm like, that's American nativism. That's racism. He shouldn't talk like that. So Bill hit me after the show. He said, oh, Trump's going to light you up tomorrow. He said, Trump's going to light me up. I said, I was out here defending him. He goes, no. You were 7 for 8 for Donald Trump.
You got to be
You got to go 13 for 10.
You're right.
Forget about 8 for 8. You got to be, in other words, the math kit doesn't work.
Right.
And
It's
of
all
course,
it's all or nothing.
all or nothing. And so Cornyn, 99% votes for the guy, forget about it. Crenshaw, 99% votes for the guy, forget about it. That's how it works.
And it's amazing that some of them still don't pick up on this years later, right? I mean,
Well,
I saw
they
Cornyn's out
probably-
there reading The Art of the Deal, like taking pictures of himself, like glazing the president, and he's still not even going to get anything out of it. It's amazing, right? Have a little respect.
Been in the Senate 36 years, take a powder, but why don't you grow some balls like Adam Kissinger and take a powder at this point.
Yeah.
And tell the people the truth. They know it already. Tell them the truth. By the way, Trump's approval rate, he's minus 45.
Yeah. He's not a popular president.
He's down by where Jimmy Carter is right now. You
Yeah.
know, see, and he doesn't care because he's not running for re-election, and he, I don't know. Well, we'll maybe we'll never know why he did this, but I've got Epstein up there as one of the reasons. This, who knows? Who knows what's going on? We do know that Trump's trying to make money off the White House. That we know. So
I think it's that, and I
who
think that he wants to
knows?
be a great. He
I would
thinks
just
he
say
could be a-
follow the money.
Sure.
You guys are investigative reporters. Follow the money, and then we'll get a real answer why Trump is where he is.
Well, so while I have you, I want to ask you a little bit on sort of economics. You're a hedge fund guy, business guy, been around. So we're about a year out today, this week from Liberation Day. You called it the Trump slump, the tariffs.
They hurt us.
But I mean, were to me the tariffs seem idiotic, but I don't really know anything. But all these people that were saying that the economy was going to go into a recession, or we were going to spark a global downturn with this, hasn't happened. Was that all overblown, or is it because of the backlash in the markets that got Trump to back down?
Yeah,
from the
well, that's
original?
what happened. So,
Right.
I mean, you took in $200 billion, which on the overall size and scale of the GDP wasn't monumental. If you left the tariffs at 140% a year, remember when he came down from Mount Evil, like Orange Moses with the tablet?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that was a ridiculous thing. So he had to walk all of that back. But he put a consumption tax on the American people. And the consumption tax was roughly $200 billion, and it was illegal. And the Supreme Court said it was illegal because you can't tax the American public without representation. That's the whole point of the revolution.
Right.
So the Supreme Court ruled against him. He cried like a baby. The 121 section that he's using won't be enforceable either. So the tariffs have to be rolled back and rebated. So it was just an asinine thing to do to the country. It did slow down growth. It did slow down consumption.
Yeah.
He inherited a growing economy from Biden with a declining inflation. Now he's got a flatlining economy with rising inflation. So he's done everything that you could do wrong, he's done, okay? Create tremendous amount of uncertainty for businesses, large and small, corporations, et cetera, through the tariffs, the push-pull on the tariffs, go to war, okay, knock prices through the roof.
Energy
particularly
shock.
on energy, particularly on energy. Go after people in the streets, okay, and have violent demonstrations of going after people in the streets, because what we know about that is that it actually dims economic innovation and it creates a lot of fear. I don't know the number of people that we have living in the country that shouldn't be here, but again, you could like those people or dislike those people. I'm not a xenophobe. They're in the country
Right.
and they're working and they're probably paying sales taxes and other forms of taxes, and they're actually contributing to the GDP. If you want to scare the living daylights out of them, you're going to dim innovation. So he has.
This is the immigration card now. So conservatives, you've got to get it together. You don't understand what's really going on. And then you blame, you suffer from TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. No, Trump is a deranged individual. Trump has that disease. Trump is Trump derangement syndrome in real life. Just look at his actions and behaviors. Just saying, folks.
Caused slower growth. He has caused greater uncertainty. He has crushed the tourism market.
Yeah.
Okay?
I noticed that coming
Crushed.
back into the country from Mexico last month.
Oh,
Nobody.
crushed it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was down in Florida. I take the kids on the Disney cruise. And
Yeah.
Don't judge me. I'm always going on the Disney cruise in August. And the guy drives me around. I said, "How are we doing?" It's like, "No, there's no Canadians.
Right. Yeah.
They won't come anymore."
The Canadians are all in Mexico.
Yeah. So the Canadians are going to Mexico. He took them, $85 billion taken out of tourism.
Right.
Jack. I mean, there's no reason for this.
Yeah.
He's hurt us in every which way possible.
But we're a
And also,
Brazilian
he's also,
economy.
You didn't bring this up, but I'm a crypto guy. He hurt the crypto market.
Based on Malcolm, that worked on the first term in the Trump administration in the West Wing, Trump wanted to actually place dead bodies on the fence of the southern border to keep people from entering into the country. But they wouldn't allow it. Can you imagine that? Dead bodies hanging from the fences of the southern border. Trump actually wanted to do that. He actually wanted to invade Iran first term. The evidence is all there. Been there all along.
Well, I want to ask you
Because
about
he had a grift on them.
Right.
So he said, "Okay, we're going to launch a Melania and a Trump coin before I become inaugurated. I'm going to take $800 million to myself." Those coins are down 97%, and all it did was slow down all of the regulatory promise. We couldn't get the Clarity Act done because of that, and other reasons. So
Interesting.
You want to go after our NATO allies. You got Army captains hiring lawyers, and they're asking the lawyers the following questions: If they tell me to go fight and take over Greenland, which is a violation of the NATO treaty, is that an illegal order and should I accept the legal? They got to have legal advice.
Right.
This is what Trump's doing to our people. It's terrible.
No, I know.
We didn't even talk about Hegseth. I mean, another moron.
Yeah. Do you know him
Just
at all?
yeah, well, I work with him at Fox. He's not a dumb guy or
He went to
anything like that.
Princeton. He was in.
Not
he
a
was an
dumb
Army Ranger,
guy.
right?
He's not a dumb guy, but he's nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's out to prove something, and he's a yes man for Donald Trump, and it's revolting.
Yeah.
I mean, you went from Jim Mattis to Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
My God.
Right. A weekend Fox News anchor is now running a global.
So you've gone from a Department of Defense secretary that Mattis, no war crimes, to Hegseth, let's do war crimes. I'm with you, Donald. Unbelievable.
War. It's a little bit terrifying. Anthony, you had a good essay in Fortune.
I'm going to just say
Go
something about
ahead,
that. I'm going to say, I wouldn't mind that if they took a servant leadership role. Like,
Okay,
I
sure.
actually believe you could put somebody in a position like that if the first thing that they have in their brain is, okay, I don't know anything.
Right.
So I'm going to surround myself with experts. Remember, the best presidents don't have the answers. The best presidents know how to ask the questions.
Right.
And then they can formulate an answer as a result of good questions, right? That was Jack Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I don't mind dropping somebody like Hegseth into the Department of Defense, which
Right.
I will never call it the other thing. I don't mind that, but I mind the approach.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Put him there as a figurehead, as kind of like this rah-rah cheerleader. Get recruitment back up. Like if that's what the troops like, by all means, right? But but him as like a war planner is terrifying, right? Like
Yeah. Well, because of his attitude, also his rhetoric.
yeah,
Like you like talking about this stuff, like sinking ships and bombing people, like
right. Like raining death from the sky. It's gross, right?
Can you imagine Dwight Eisenhower talking about that? These guys did pain these people that civilians were getting killed.
Yeah.
It pained these people that the war was causing all of this havoc.
Well, it's the same way. It's like their social media strategy of putting out these like these like thrill videos, or like these sizzle reels of like us bombing, different things, and then interspersed with clips of like NFL touchdowns. Like it's gross. Even if you're the most rah-rah patriot, pro-war guy, it's like it's just gross. That's not what it is.
Terrible look for the United
Right?
States.
It's really
Terrible look.
I wanted to ask you about this Fortune essay that you wrote, where you invoke the hubris generally, and also the fall of Rome, and you sort of make this argument that there's a small number of people that have accumulated all of this influence that now rivals some sovereign governments, and how that happened in Rome and how it's happening now. With all due respect, though, you're a hedge fund guy, aren't you? One of those sort of influential elites?
Yeah, I'm not as rich as a lot of those. Listen, I'm not gonna look. I'm a financially independent guy. I've
Of
done
course.
quite well,
And
I would say that I'm in that sphere of influence, which is why I think I feel I have some standing to criticize it. I think that what Cicero said, and the point that I was making in that essay, is that the process, we have to subordinate ourselves to the process. The founders understood that we had to shackle ourselves due to our greed, our impulses of ego, our self-aggrandizement, our willingness and need for power, which, by the way, I am susceptible to that, which I've written about. I went to go work for Trump.
Right.
So you have to do, if you remember what Ulysses, remember what he did? He tied himself to the mast. He told his sailors, don't listen to the siren call of the mermaid. You're going to fall into the Charybdis. You're going to fall into the whirlpool. And he tied himself to the mast. That was Homer giving you a metaphor about we need systems, we need processes in place to protect ourselves from our own human nature.
right.
Okay, so what did the founders wanted? They wanted decentralization of power. The founders wanted the government off your back so that you could experience what J.S. Mill and John Locke talked about was your individual liberty.
Right.
Just sort of this
Source of
Western
happiness, yeah.
canon of Western individualism, right? And so what's happening now, what always happens is a group of people figure out the system, they game the system, they use their power and influence over the system, and then they corrupt the system and they tilt the system. So the system's tilting now. That's very bad because a guy like me, the 1972 version of me at age 8, I'm looking up thinking, hey, man, I'm going to make it in this country. I'm not saying there wasn't corruption in the 70s. I'm not saying there wasn't diabolical behavior. There certainly was. But there was way more respect for the system and way more respect, military respect, U.S. Army respect Remember, 80% of the Congress was in the Army.
Yeah.
And they've all fought in the Second World War, the Korean War. So they had a respect for the Constitution and for the checks and balances in the system. We don't have that.
But here's the other thing. The conservative IDU.org, it's a website. Chairman is a Stephen Harper. Conservative movement's the biggest ideology movement in the world, and it's what's created the problem we have with the financial systems that have created a disservice to the working people, and you just don't get it. Financial systems needs to be changed. The way money is created needs to be understood. The way money needs to flow into an economy needs to be reframed, reworked, and re-understood so that you know how the economy should work to eliminate the affordability issue and other issues that actually suppress and oppress the human experience. And this is my whole point of doing these videos. So questions, comments? Throw in the comments section, but TDS is a Trump ailment of Trump himself. So if you follow that ideology, Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper was an economics degree prime minister. He found out the hard way. He made all these infrastructure promises, but because of the tax cuts, you love those tax cuts, but because of the tax cuts, he couldn't invest in the infrastructure, kept putting it off. And so if you think the 10 years was the liberal years, no. It's much more than that. The issue goes back to 1970, and unless you understand that, you're not going to fix the issue. So love and peace to everyone.